welcome everyone to our October Unsung Hero interview series. Our next guest is Krishna Hegde. And let me tell you, this individual came kicking and screaming. He was nominated by a colleague and a friend of the firm, who is a mutual friend of ours, who thought that Krishna's service to the community was worthy of being recognized. But when I asked Krishna to be interviewed, he actually declined. So this, by the way, is not an uncommon reaction by a lot of the people that we've approached who have been nominated. These are people who are actually shying away from recognition and the limelight because they don't think that what they're doing is worthy. But of course, we persisted, and Krishna felt sorry for us, and he said, all right, I will give you this interview. So with that, we are kicked to say that he is here today to be interviewed.
Thank you, Rekha. Good to be with you.
Great. So Krishna, if it's okay with you, I'm going to jump right into the questions that I have. Can you please actually introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and tell us what your profession was?
Well, you already know I'm Krishna. Come from a small village in Karnataka and grew up there till I finished my high school.
And
And
Karnataka, by the way, is South India, my hometown as well. So
right, on the west coast of Karnataka, a small place called Karki near Honnaur Taluka place. So and those who are from Karnataka may just add, that's where the Sharavati River joins the sea. So a little bit for Kannadigas. And grew up there and then finished my education there and came to this country for higher education. And then I have used to be in academia for a few years. After that, I moved to industry and worked for the rest of my life in with AT&T and the partner company and retired from there 2 years ago. That's what I am.
perfect. And what did you do at AT&T, Krishna?
I was doing initially started with economic and marketing analysis, then business support, marketing. I worked in both finance and marketing departments there in AT&T.
And as an academician, what were you? Where were you teaching, and what subject?
I was teaching in Rutgers Graduate School of Business, and I was teaching finance before I moved to AT&T.
So you already told us where you grew up. How many siblings do you have?
I have five siblings, two older brothers. I'm sorry, four siblings, two older brothers, two younger sisters. So we are five together.
Krishna, do you visit India a lot?
I do at least once a year in the recent last 20, 25 years, sometimes more than once a year. And that's to spend time with my siblings.
Very nice. You talked about the rivers where you grew up. I have a question. How was your childhood like?
It was just simply wonderful. I wish, sometimes, I'm sure everybody has great childhood, but at least to me, like anybody else, it was a great childhood living and growing up in a small place. This is a very unique place where we have sea within about less than a mile on one side, and we have hills on the other side, less than a mile again, half a mile basically. So and a river in between, lots of ponds and things. So paddy growing area. So it's a beautiful actually.
So you
Nice
grew
to
up in the fields, running around in among nature and hills and.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And playing with all the siblings and kids, other friends and everybody. So it's a great childhood. Thank you for
So
asking.
what year did you come to the US?
I came to the US in 1974.
Okay, and you came here for higher studies, I'm
I
assuming?
came here for higher studies, yes. I
What
came.
what prompted you to leave that idyllic setting and come here?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question. Thinking back, sometimes you wonder whether it was the right decision or not, because you come for to gain something, which you do indeed, but you also give up a lot, when you come here, especially spending time with your loved ones, parents as they get older. But came here basically to get a higher degree, and I thought I will go back after my degree, and then, but like most people, it doesn't happen. It didn't
Doesn't
happen.
happen. Yeah. This is a classic Indian story, right? You come here to chase the American dream, but you always
Yes,
in heart want to go back. And
yes.
most people who have been here for many, many years will say you're never going to go back. And then you're like, no, I will go back. And
No, no. In fact, I tell now many youngsters that if you really want to go back within the first 4 or 5 years, or before your kid is about 3 or 4 years. And some people have gone, and not because I've said, but they remember my telling. At least two, three people have told me, I remember that, and it was a good decision. I came back before my kid was 5 year old.
That's
Believe it or
amazing.
not.
Your
Yeah.
four other siblings, are they in the same area that you grew up in, or have they?
No, there is nobody home. They are all spread out. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Although
spread out
one
in.
sister lives now in the same area. Now, after they spent their life in Mumbai, they went back. My sister and her husband. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
Um, i- so I know we're going to get to sort of why we're interviewing you today, and that's really to highlight your volunteering activities. But at this point of time, can I ask you who has been the most influential person in your life?
Uh, in a sense, very difficult to put one person. But this goes back to the whole thing. Why you're interviewing me and all. I've been kind of reflecting on that ever since you told me. And I grew up with my grandmother, essentially grandmother and grandfather, just a little away from my actual house where my siblings and my parents lived.
So
But
your grandmother raised you? Is that what you're saying? Your
yes,
grandparents raised you?
my grandparents raised me,
Okay.
and that's for a reason, not because I didn't have parents. They just wanted a kid there, and because they had all their kids had gotten older and moved away. So
And that also is not uncommon in Indian families. You'll hear of
right,
this a lot, where you'll find some of the children being raised by the grandparents or their aunts or their uncles. So
right, yeah,
for me, it
and
was no surprise. But now that you pointed that out, it must be surprising for other people.
yeah, and no, in fact, it took a long time for me to find out why I was raised by my grandparents. What was the reason? Because it was only 3 miles away, so to say. But the my grandmother has been a big, major influence. So also my parents, basically. I think these three people, I would say.
Okay.
Um,
And
so
anything in particular that strikes you as something that was remarkable about these people that just stood out that you found?
Yeah, see, my grandfather was there too, but my grandmother was more involved in social work, helping out always others, and she was even though she didn't go to beyond primary school, she was involved in local school membership, board member, local township membership, and all that. But basically, her nature was such that she was a very helping person to anybody of any kind. Okay, that was one. But then again, as we were growing up, my father and mother both were involved in social work, and again, volunteering. Now, social work, I mean, whether you want to call it social work in the sense of, what the technical term is. My father was chairman of the panchayat, chairman of the school board. So also my mother was a member of the school board, and she became a chairperson of the school. She started the Mahilas Mandal in the village. There was none before.
Mahila
And
Mandal stands for women's organization, right?
women's organization, yeah, and where she collected money and got some sewing machines, and taught people how to stitch them so that the women can make some money. These are all the local women. And the thing is, all these things are done by those people without any salary as such. So the idea that you do something for the society, for all of us, it was right in front of us when we were growing up. So my two brothers, have always been in the town, in Bombay and Pune, and they live. They've also been involved in the local organizations, and do work. Again, it may not be voluntary in the sense of soup kitchen and all that, but essentially do work, in for the organization, be the member, chair, or whatever.
Remarkable that these women around you were doing things that made an impression in your life. And as we go through this interview more and more, I think we'll see this sort of common thread that you had with these with your mom and your grandma. Um,
Absolutely. And my father, by the way, if there was any social cause in the village, they would always make my father the leader because everybody trusted that, everything would be done properly. There was no misuse of anything kind. So only any such occasion, they would force him to be, and people used to contribute only because he was there. Believe.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And this is actually a great segue into the organization that you have been part of for so long, Manavi, which is, of course, for all the South Asians. We all know that Manavi has been doing some really great work with the South Asian community for battered women who are survivors of domestic violence and abuse. And your wife, Radha, has actually been one of the founders of Manavi. And what was remarkable in your nomination is the fact that you, as her spouse, had been involved in the organization right almost from its inception, and helping out in little ways until even further than Radha, where Radha decided to, take a step back while you continued on. And the segue that I thought, the reason why I bring this up right now is the word trust. Now bring it to here and Manavi and how you helped as a treasurer. So it's interesting how you also developed some trust within the organization where they trusted you to keep the books accurate, to make sure when the
Yes.
auditing happens that your filings were all correct. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in Manavi, even further beyond Radha's contribution and you being involved because of her? Can you give us a sense of your involvement and why you stayed on for so long?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, it has to do with a couple of things. First and foremost, as Radha was involved, me as a spouse, so also a couple of others of the co-founders' spouses got involved, and basically all the other men also had the same idea of volunteering and helping out because the cause and the mission was such that how could you not, basically, essentially. And then at that time there was no formal organization, but we used to collect money. Somebody had to keep track, and since I had the finance background, it came on me. So that was one thing. Essentially, that was the thing. And then the one other thing we have to say, everybody together, it was not single person, you know, whether we were, until we registered, until we got the, the non-profit exempt status from the government and everything, or we got the grants or whatever, we had a philosophy developed together that Manavi's book should be kept clean, everything should be balanced. And one other principle that Manavi has, which was developed and Manavi still follows, that no funds collected are spent on anything other than what it is collected for. So even when there was an office initially where we had an office, started the office, 2, 3 staff members, if there is a little occasion to have a cake or coffee, snack or whatever, it was not from the collected funds, but rather some board member would bring, buy it and come, or have it delivered and pay for it, but not from the collected funds. All the collected funds were always used only for the cost that is collected for. Until today, it's the same principle. And talking about trust, and the Manavi's books, we balance this to the penny, so that there is no difference. Get it audited, so that, it's very important that when you are doing work in a voluntary organization which is doing a cause, regardless of what, it is public or private, doesn't matter. But especially for public, especially when you are a organization doing this kind of a service, extremely important that trust should be there, that principle should be followed. And I'm glad to say it's still there, and Manavi does follow that. Even today, Manavi's board members are not paid of any kind, no perks, nothing, absolutely no perks.
That's
They do
fantastic.
all want it, and these are amazing set of women who are doing that, by the way.
That is fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think? So, it seems almost natural that your background in finance and economics kind of lent you to being helpful as a treasurer role. Uh,
Right.
did you also do other things within the organization that brought about some other skill sets? Or, just was it purely from a bookkeeping, treasury, managing money standpoint that you're helpful?
See, given Manavi's work, and these are helping survivors of domestic violence, Manavi had a principle that it's better not to mingle those, if you want to call them clients seeking help, with men who are not related in any way. So we kept that firewall. So we only, men volunteers only help with grants, keeping books. If you have to make some call, do or whatever, all those kind of things, or even if you have to lift and go do something, deliver something, but never in contact with women who are seeking help. So that firewall was maintained, and it's still being maintained.
And that is something that is important to consider, right? Because these are women who have had some sort of a trauma and who are seeking help. And obviously, the maintaining of that firewall is so important for their trust and their ability
Their
to provide
trust,
them.
and also there are people who will be watching them, some, probably, and you don't want to subject them to further, until the situation is completely under control. You don't want to subject them to further kind of a jeopardy, or what you want to call. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, how many years with Manavi as a both as a board member and as a regular member?
I would say maybe about in between, maybe some 10 years. I didn't get involved that much other than supporting them with the annual event and everything. So almost the last 25 to 30 years I've been with, Manavi.
That's amazing.
Um, yeah.
And I know that you had said that you've kind of taken a back seat now because they've scaled up, they've become bigger.
Right.
What do you help out with now?
I do help out with still some, if there is a question of how to handle something, or maybe, for a number of years, I was the sole person doing the finance work in terms of even taking care of some filling, whether it's filling out a government form or grant application, whatever. That transfer of skill sometime once in a while still comes up, and if it comes, I do still get involved. But essentially, overall, how to look at the budget, that kind of a thing. And again, in the last 2 years, it become less and less. Only occasionally, if there is some question comes on a need basis, I get involved.
Perfect.
Yeah, but
So
I'm
let's talk about your second love, the love for music, and in particular Hindustani music, which is Indian classical music. So I heard you're a big buff, and you actually got involved in an organization that was supporting artists from all over the country, actually all over the world. And so when we initially talked, you said, Manavi is great, but this is really where I put my heart and soul in even more. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I don't know whether even more, in the sense that's because, see, Manavi is basically on a need kind of a thing, right? I mean, you don't know, but here is where things are happening, where you do for always things happening in the music world. This is an organization which was already in existence, and I got involved. Maybe it was already about 10 years old, kind of a thing, or a little less than 10 years. Most of the people were in New Jersey at the time, so I became a member first, and then a volunteer, and then a secretary, and then the president, and then After a while, there were less people wanting to get involved. So me and another friend of mine who was also with the organization, we basically managed for about 20 years, just two of us essentially, and occasional help at the site of performance. Maybe some people would help us with the physical stuff, but other than that, running an organization, only two of us did.
So tell us the
Yeah.
name of the organization.
It's the Indian Academy of Performing Arts. Basically, music lovers would know there is a counterpart of to the North Indian music. The South Indian Music Association is called the Carnatic Music Association of North America, SIMANA. So we are the counterpart. We are called the IAPA, or the Indian Academy of Performing Arts. And we are still doing work, but on a lesser scale and co-sponsor with people more. So we still get involved. And this is something I may add. I do still, under the name of our organization IAPA, do send out a community newsletter once, maybe once in 2 weeks, kind of a thing, listing all the events. And this is just doing it. I've been doing it for the last 20 plus years. This is just to simply keep the community intact, networking, so that people come to know what events are happening in the tri-state area.
It's a physical mailing, or is it a digital?
It's now email. It's been
Oh,
email only.
okay.
Yes, email.
And so in order for you to put that newsletter together, you have to find out what events are going on,
Right.
what are being performed. So you have to scout out
People
all.
people send now, but they have gotten to know that they send me. Sometimes I have to dig out. I come to know, then I call or I go and do some research and put it together and send out. So that in fact, there are a lot of people who really appreciate that, because they know
Mhm.
in one listing you have all the events happening in the area
Right.
every weekend, whenever it's happening, because music scene is mostly when the visiting artists come from India, and they don't, that doesn't happen in the winter months or the cold months.
Mm. Nobody from India wants to come here in the
Nobody
winter.
wants to, nobody comes. Yeah,
Um, this one, when we were talking about this before the interview, you had, sort of said you had put so many hats on to do this job because it was a lot of heavy lifting, right? You had to organize the artists, you had to do the publicity, do the fundraising, do the tax filings, and manage the
right,
records.
right.
Um, what motivated you to do this year after year? What was your motivation?
Just the love of music, and basically something I love so much. There are times when everybody has the moments you enjoy the music, and the if we don't support the music, the art, it's not easy for it to survive. It's artists we have to support, and that's what. And I'm not the only one, by the way. I'm sure there are many like me who feel, and like I mentioned, a friend of mine who also does, support in a similar way. So we want to keep the art alive, the music, keep going, so that there is no, what do you call this, discontinuity, so to say, and enjoy doing that, and hopefully it'll continue.
So, I want to ask you a question that struck me as something quite insightful in what you said earlier. You had mentioned previously that when this started, when it was in its heyday, there were always like a core group of people who you could count on to support and to attend these events. What do you think has happened today?
People have moved away from the area, become old probably, and a lot of people have extended family, grandkids, birthdays, attend duties, and honestly, seriously, true.
But what about
And
the youngsters? There are no
the
youngsters attending?
youngsters are not getting involved as much, and this is again, I may be making a incorrect statement here. For a while, I thought the Carnatic Music Association was a lot more coherent, and there were a lot of youngsters getting involved in that. And I used to see that also, because I attend both Hindustani and Carnatic music concerts whenever I can. But now I also see that in the Carnatic music scene, also the youngsters are not that much as they used to be. I hope only it's a temporary, and unless I'm making it up, I don't think so. So it's the our youngsters have, I don't know whether they enjoy different kind of music or
Very interesting. That's very interesting
yeah,
and sort of sad to see a sort of a dying art in a way.
right.
But
Yeah.
hopefully people watching this may be inspired to say, you know what?
I hope so. I hope so. It's the art is not dying, thankfully, in India. When the pandemic happened, everybody thought maybe God, what happens? But fortunately, it's come back and everything is intact. In India, it's thriving, thankfully, and I'm actually glad to say, younger generation of artists are being prepared and performing well. So
So
there
it's the
is hope for
viewership
the
then.
art, but here in New Jersey area for Hindustani music, it's very fragmented. But talking about the music organization, it's this is compared to, since you asked me about both. Uh, Compared to Manavi, this was a lot more mentally involved because you have to always keep thinking about. And when you are, I'm not the only one. Everybody who volunteers for a music organization has gone through. We are not doing it nowadays for only because we all have moved away from that. Otherwise, it used to involve, as any volunteer would tell you would pick up the artists from the airport, host them for 3, 4 days, and then drop them, take them from one place to another. All these are part of becoming involved in a music organization. And I'm not the only one. There are a whole bunch of people who have done that, but I think we may have done it for a longer period of time. Me and my
Mm.
friend, I'll mention his name also, Shripad Tilak. So we did for about 20 years, basically manage with some help. I just want to mention this so that people have an idea of all volunteers. I'm sure you do that in our organization, in the music organization. So also came to Manavi. Again, all the members of the board and all. There are no events which are free for them. Everybody pays whatever the price is. And so is true in our music organization. Anytime when you have events, there are no free tickets. Other
Mm.
than the artists, maybe spouse or somebody, maybe one or two, or somebody says, "This is my guest, you please don't charge them," that's fine. Otherwise, all of us who are the office bearers, whether president, secretary, treasurer, we pay and we insist on keeping a record. We pay by check so that if there is an audit, you will see that
Fantastic.
there is no. I mean, that's how you run a non-profit volunteer
And I'm
organization.
sure that aspect of this has probably got your hand in your say in that more than anything else. So you as the
No,
treasurer,
there are like-minded people. Me and my friend, we were, and even the people before. Essentially, it's not me alone. No,
yeah.
that's some nice principle we follow, and it feels good to be. And so, I will just mention, even when I go, some people invite me for other organizations, say, "Oh no, don't pay." I don't. I insist on paying because as an organizer, it's very difficult to make sure the funds are collected.
Yeah.
I don't want any free this thing,
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Having honest people run nonprofit organizations are probably so key in making sure that that has a lasting effect because otherwise I'm sure it can easily get run to the ground.
I think so. I think it is necessary,
Yeah.
otherwise organizations have sometimes falter, and from time to, although we are talking about a very small scale organization, but you see about all these bigger scale organization, how there are sometimes scams and
Yeah.
scandals. No, we don't
Yeah.
want to be, anywhere near that.
Great. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. All right. So, Krishna, we are now ready for the rapid fire portion of this interview.
Okay.
So I have not told you anything other than the fact that I'm going to be asking you a question and you need to just think of the first thing that comes to the top of your mind. I'm going to start by asking you, what is the first meal of your day?
Breakfast.
Okay. I know you looked at me very confused. I've had a lot of people telling me dinner because either they've just been so busy and they haven't had time and suddenly they look up and it's 6 o'clock. And
Yeah.
so this throws people off a little bit. But you said breakfast. So what is your typical breakfast?
It's some kind of a toast or some, what they call, we have it's a Tamil word, shundal. I don't know whether
Okay,
in
yeah,
Bangalore it's known. Yeah,
that's like a sprouted lentil or bean, maybe.
lentil or different kind of beans or
Wow,
something. Yeah,
very
yeah,
healthy
yeah.
dish. So that's great. That actually has a lot of protein.
Lot
So
of protein. Yeah,
starts
tasty
your
also.
day
Yes.
off well.
Yeah.
What is so I know you like to travel and I know you've gone to India a lot, but have you traveled to other places where you can say that other than India, is there any other favorite place that you've traveled to?
Mostly Berlin and England. I mean, we've been to a few other countries also, but Berlin is where my wife goes quite a bit, and so we both enjoy
Very
Berlin
nice.
a lot.
Are you an early bird or you are you a night owl?
More of a night out. Yeah.
Really? So
Yeah.
what
Not
time do you sleep at night?
mm, almost always 12 o'clock midnight.
Wow.
That's
So
not that late. That's not that.
well, compared to me, that's late. I'm an early riser.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
do you like sweet things or savory?
Uh, I like sweets.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite dessert?
What's my favorite dessert? Oh, not one. So many.
Many, many.
Yeah.
If I were to present you with cake, ice cream, an Indian dessert, or
Indian.
a cookie,
Indian.
Indian, okay. Any particular Indian sweet that stands
You
out?
name it, gulab jamun, jalebi, you know.
Any one of those. Okay, good. Do you like to read? Do you like to
Yes,
read
I
books?
do. Although I
Okay.
have to get back to my reading habit. I'll actually name my favorite author, maybe.
Okay. Okay.
That may be, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I am hoping you also know is a Kannada author called S.L. Bhairappa.
I have heard of him. I have
Bhairappa.
not personally read any of
Yes,
his works, but yes.
right. Yeah.
What is the one age that you wish you could be forever?
25.
Ooh, my favorite age too. Why?
So many things you could do, so much energy, not worry about the future, what comes out, in life and whatnot. So just carefree.
Carefree. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is so if you could go back into your childhood and be able to confront your younger self, what is the one advice you would give that younger self?
Think a little more about the future, have some goals, very clear goals, what do you want to achieve in life? Most of us have gone through and then developed in midlife kind of a thing. I would rather have had them if I had them before. I think that would have been nice. No
You've
regrets
gotten a
though.
head start.
Yeah, no regrets though,
Yeah.
honestly.
What is the one thing that's unexpected about you that people would be surprised to know about?
I'm still taking Sanskrit classes. For many years
Sanskrit
I've
classes?
studied. Yes, yes.
Oh my God. And for those people who don't know, Sanskrit is our version of Latin because it's a
Yes.
extremely difficult, non-spoken, non-spoken, but I mean, we use it in chants and religious
Right.
occasions, but it's not a spoken dialect. So,
Right.
a spoken language, I should say. That's amazing. How many years have you been learning it for?
Oh, more than 10 years.
They say that's true. They say it takes 7 to 10 years, maybe more to learn. That's
Yes.
Kristen, we are now at the tail end of our interview, and so here is where we're going to ask you our legacy questions. if there was one thing that you were most proud of yourself in all of these years of all of your accomplishments, what would it be?
If people kind of, when they think of me, that I was helpful, that would be just great. You
And
know,
is that what you're proud of as well? The fact that you did help people?
I know helping comes naturally. Basically, I mean, we always, as you asked me about in the beginning about my grandmother, her, again, you may have to translate it for your audience. Her theme was always do some paropakara, always, I grew up with her for 15 years or 14 years. And it's instilled in almost every sibling of me and my siblings, and it's also my mother.
Yeah,
So
and
that was,
Paropakara is actually community service, right?
yeah,
Service
community
to the
service,
community.
help others, basically. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I so you don't do these things so that people appreciate that or people expect. No, it just comes,
should
you
come
know,
naturally.
yeah.
And so I'm going to go back because you've been one of those individuals. You're very embarrassed with me asking you about yourself. What are you most proud of?
I think I'm proud of my everybody around me, you know, rather my daughter, especially. I do think that we have a kid who has a good head up on a shoulder. That's really nice. I'm proud of.
Very nice. Okay, that's true. The your daughter, your only child, right?
Only child, yes.
Yeah, is definitely something to be proud of. Um, and when you mentioned what's the legacy, that was my question about what legacy you want to leave in your life. You mentioned you want people to remember you as somebody who just helped others.
If they remembered, that's all. Doesn't have to be, somebody.
What do you
Uh,
want your grandkids to remember you by?
oh, that I was loving, you know.
Yeah,
Hopefully they know that we were there for them always.
nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. And if there's one thing you want other people around you, human beings in general, to do better, what would it be?
I think be cordial, courteous, and be helpful to others. I think that always spreads. And I've seen this. Definitely, it does help.
It's amazing that, we started off where you really didn't want to bring out all of the good work that you've done because you didn't think that was anything special. You thought this is something that everybody.
I still think so, Rekha.
You still
Thank you.
think so. Except what I want everyone to hear is the fact that for you, this comes so naturally. The fact that you can help people without even thinking it's anything special should really be something that other people listening to this should be mindful of to say that, for some people, this is their daily life. This is the way of life. And I hope that they all get inspired, one, to help other people, and two, to join that music organization and attend
Yes,
attend those
we would
concerts.
appreciate that very much.
Yeah, yeah, we would love to spread the word about your the organization and then hopefully get more listenership and audience participation. Thank
Yeah.
you, Krishna. It was really a lot of
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you for doing this. And thanks for the service you do to the community.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.